Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Jackie, and this is my first video installment. I'm not sure what the name of my channel is going to be on YouTube. However, I will probably know when I post it. So, I don't know if there's going to be a glare or not see how awkward I am? That's okay though. It's my first video. I don't know. There might be a little bit of a glare from my glasses, and because they're right in front of me, beyond the phone is a window, so that might kind of interfere with it. And I'm trying to be more present with my self-conscious way, because sometimes the way I talk, and as we go along, I'll share some stuff. How about that? Okay, so my name is Jackie, and I'm about a year or two away from retirement, and I want to share with you how I'm going to supplement my retirement so I can retire. And that's just how I'm going to start out. Now, I have written some notes down here about my welcome. I want to welcome you here. And if you find this video helpful, please like and subscribe. And because I'm 62, or I'll be 62 in April, if you're a little older than me and you're already retired and you're trying to supplement what your retirement brought you, please join me, because I will be able to, I think you'll benefit from it. And then if you're younger than me and you're 4 years away from retirement, 5 years, even 10 years, you can still get some tips out of this, because the earlier you start planning, the better off you are. So even if you're a millennial and you're listening to this, good on you. And so welcome to that. What I was going to say with my goals are to be able to retire within a year or two, to be able to supplement. I'm going to have 2 retirement incomes, but they're still not quite enough, because in my eyes, the way I live right now, before retirement, I should say, I feel like I have to make between $5,000 and $6,000 a month. And that is enough to live on with my situation. Now, with my full-time job, I make approximately that. I've had a good career, and some people might make more than that. Some people might make less than that, but whatever, that works for me. So my goal is to keep that and actually increase it. And so I have to have a side gig. In order to do that, I got to have a side gig. And my side gig is, I'm going to be a reseller. Well, I am a reseller. And so as I go along, I'll share that with you and share how I resell, what I resell, where I resell. So, like I said, I'm 62 years old, and I'm a younger boomer. Now, it's funny because my granddaughter, who doesn't really know a whole lot about generations and, how the names of them and stuff, I told her I was a boomer. And she said, "Yeah, but Grandma, you're a baby boomer." Which I thought was funny, because baby boomers are the whole boomers, right? But she said I was a baby boomer because I'm the younger boomer, which makes sense, right? But I'm stuck between, I'm on the cusp between Generation X and boomers. And I've always felt kind of lost, and I just wanted to do some research on it. And so I did. And I guess we're known as Generation Jones and Generation Jones is considered between 1955 or 54 and 1965. and it's relatively a new term. It was thought up by a man, I forgot his name, in the 90s to bridge the gap, because a lot of people in my age group, we feel like we don't fit in, because older generation boomers, they could retire when they were 65. My age group, we can't retire until we're 67. And then a lot of things happened to the younger boomers. Like, we went through the S&L scandal, we went through the gas embargo, we went through we watched the men land on the moon, but the economy we didn't have a lot to look forward to. So a lot of the younger generations say that the boomers ruined it for them. Well, people in my age group, we went through a lot of difficulties with the economy. And some examples of the Jones generation would be Madonna, President Obama is a good one, Michael Jordan, people in their from 1964 up to 1950s. So whoever is in that generation is considered the Jones. And I mean, I don't even know if it would go to 1954. I think that's even a little too into the boomer age, because I have brothers and sisters in that age group, and I pretty much couldn't relate to them growing up. I relate to them better now, and I think they probably relate to me better now. But growing up, it was difficult having siblings in that age group, because I just didn't relate to them. And then also, dating was an interesting factor, because when I was younger, I didn't mind dating guys who were in the older like an older boomer. But now, and even when I was like in my 40s, dating somebody who was 10 to 12 years older than me became more and more difficult, because I didn't have anything in common with them. So I started dating people my own age or even a little younger, because I related to them better. And so the reason I'm sharing this is because it does have a difference in retirement. It really does. Like I said, they could retire when they were 65. We can't retire until we're 67, but we're still considered boomers. But I'm going to start referring to myself as a Jones, because Generation X doesn't like me, and neither do the boomers. Okay, so currently, I am still working. Like I said, my salary does benefit me. I have really good insurance. I have a good paycheck every other week. I can afford to go places now and again. And I also take care of my family. I still have people living with me. I have 2 online stores, one on Etsy and one on eBay. The one on Etsy I've had for 5 years. I opened my store on Etsy just because I wanted to buy stuff. You don't really have to have a store on Etsy to buy stuff, but I just wanted to do that. And then I started selling on it. Now, this was like 4 years ago. I had my store open for I don't know how long before I started selling on it. And it was actually going really good. I was getting traction. However, I had issues come up in my personal life where I just didn't have time for that. So I just left my store open. And then last year, I thought, I'm just going to start selling on it again. So I did. And I'm doing really good for the first year. I feel like I did really good. Now, you don't become a millionaire or anything in your first year, and you probably don't ever become a millionaire, although people want you to think that. And there might be a very low percentage of people who do, but that conversation is for the future. So then I decided in January, because I was going on eBay to buy stuff to also resell, because you can find some stuff on eBay for inexpensive. And so I would go on there and buy stuff that I could resell and use to resell on my Etsy store, because I do lots of arts and crafts, and we'll get into all that. So I just decided to open a store, an actual store to sell on eBay. And I've opened it. I opened it in January, and I'm already doing really well on it. Again, some people might say, is that what you think doing well on eBay is? Yeah, well, and I'll share a little bit more about that in the future. But what I sell on eBay that's going to get me to where I need to be in the next year or two to supplement my income is mostly clothing. I do sell collectibles too, but it's mostly clothing. And my niche, or my specialty, is vintage dresses and Y2K, and also bread and butter clothing. So let's start with bread and butter clothing. Bread and butter. I can talk. I know I can. Bread and butter clothing is considered, like clothing that you wear every day, clothing you wear to work, like office attire, clothing that you might want to wear casually out with friends on a weekend. And mostly for my generation, it would be for boomers, Jones, and even Generation X. But then what I also sell is vintage dresses and vintage clothing. I like to buy clothing that was made in the USA because I'm used to that. From the 90s, that's when it started to fizzle out. Things made in the USA started going away, I should say. But I like that clothing because it is better quality. And so when you find it in a thrift store, why wouldn't you want to sell quality clothing? So I specialize in selling vintage, made in America dresses, skirts, and shirts. Now, there's not a whole lot of shirts. There's a lot of dresses, though, and skirts. There's a lot of skirts. And I will show you some items as we move along. But then I also sell Y2K, which is from millennial generation, and I understand that generation clothing because that's the age of my children, and I like it. And I think it's because I'm a younger boomer that I can relate to that type of clothing. I like it because when you think about it, I'm a punk rocker, I'm goth, I'm 90s and 80s. And I also, when I was graduating from high school, listened to rap. And my generation, my age group, also came up with MTV. Like, I think I was in my late 20s, mid 20s to early 30s when MTV was created. And so we liked it. We listened to it. But then when it started becoming where there wasn't a whole lot of music, and it started being like reality TV, I would still watch it. Like, what the heck's the name of that one reality show that they had on MTV where people all came together to live in the house? I forgot the name of it, but and then all of it spun off of that. Well, that's when I stopped watching it, was when it got into too much of that. I was into the first few seasons of that, but then it just kind of fizzled out because it wasn't real anymore, if you want to say that. Anyways, where was I going with that? That's how I can relate to the clothing, to that part of America, mostly clothing. But that's why I specialize in finding pieces that were made in America, union made, and Y2K on top of bread and butter clothing, and then collectibles. Like, for example, let me think if there's something here. Oh, there's something right back there. Hold on a minute. I'll get it. This box is an example of a collectible. It's an old wooden box. I don't know if it's vintage or antique, but it's very heavy. I have it on my YouTube channel, and it is getting traction. I know somebody's going to buy it very soon. Another example of a collectible is, I found it at a estate sale, is this old stitchery or embroidery. This one has not been opened, and I think I have it on eBay right now for $30, and it's getting traction, so I know it's going to sell really quick. And I also had bought this stitchery at the same estate sale, and I'll feature this on a video. And I have collectibles like that. So, and one of the reasons that I wanted to start my channel was because I see a lot of eBayers or resellers who have their own channels, but they're much younger than me, and they're either millennials or very young Generation X, and they have a tendency to only pick up, 15 or 30 minutes of videos of what they bought and what sold. And it's just so boring. And then another reason is because I guess it's like clickbait, if you want to call it that, but they clickbait you into thinking that you're going to become a gazillionaire by selling on eBay. And that's just not the truth. It's not reality. You just, it's a lot of work, and it will work. However, starting it, the startup, I should say, of eBay, to me has been the most difficult part, because you got to go out and source. You got to post or list, and you got to figure out what postage is, and all that stuff. And so I'll go through all of that. But anyways, this is why I wanted to start this channel, is to share my goals and to welcome you and to share what I had done in the past and what I'm doing currently and leading up. So join me for my journey. Join me, older boomers. Join me from the Jones generation, and join me from Generation X, who I have a lot of respect for Generation X, because I think that they are the invisible generation. I really do. But Generation X has really contributed to our society in ways that it just feels like they don't get a lot of credit. It's either the boomers, who are the biggest losers, or the millennials, who, what are the millennials? I'm not sure, but they are starting to contribute more than they ever have. Actually work with a lot of millennials, and they're my best friends. And I also work with Generation X, and they just seem like they're forgotten about. So welcome to all of you, and welcome to millennials. And like I said, because you should be planning now. It's never too late. All right, see, now to end it, because of the generations of, who am I? Should I say peace out, or do you, or see you later, alligator? Or should I start out my video by saying sup? And that probably looks weird, me saying that. And that's it. Okay. Like and subscribe. How about that?